What's good with it in the who with it? Welcome back to the collective clips where you already know the gun's about to fuck. I could just keep going. Get it in. But before I get it in, let's hit that like and subscribe button and let's get to this intro. Welcome back to the collective clips. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure that you do that. Put the notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that the gun is kicking. And I appreciate you, man. Thank you for all your support. So today is 4/14. And in the Norteno movement, that means it's a day of unity. It's a day where Norteños come together across Northern California. They pop up and pop out. They show up, right? It's a day of canalismo, a day of reflection on the struggle, and look forward to the path of the future. Right now, you say to yourself, "It's a fucking pinchy gang. It's gang violence. It's groups and gangs make believing, pretending." But there's no pretend here. See, the Norteño struggle was a beautiful struggle while I was doing it, and it's going to continue to be a beautiful struggle while the kids and the youngsters and the people that are now involved this era are doing it. They might do it a little bit differently, but that doesn't mean they don't have the same goals intact and on their mind. Now, with every positive, there's a negative. And let me explain to you guys what the Day of Unity means. I know there right now in the city of Sacramento, there's a gaggle of Norteños chilling, coming together, showing love, embracement, respects to, and this is a lot of different barrios. You got Tulare County, Merced, Modesto, Sacramento, that whole area, right? Is coming together all throughout Northern California to pay homage to their forefathers who laid the foundation down, wrote the bonds that they lived their life by, their constitution. And you have a lot of guys showing a lot of respect for their fallen comrades, their fallen homeboys that have passed during a beautiful struggle. And also even more so than that, the people behind the walls that are going through a struggle right now. And so they come together, they barbecue, they bring their families, their kids. And it always tripped me out because I've been involved to some degree in a unity. It wasn't necessarily called the Unity Day like it is now, but it was something lightweight like that. We had homeboys from Modesto, basically Stanislaus County, Merced County got together at the lake, and everyone had a good time. You get introduced to young homies, new homies, a lot of people getting laced up, gamed up, whatever, however you want to put it, right? Understand this. In every positive, there's a negative, okay? You will conduct yourself with professionalism. There's going to be kids. There's going to be family members. There's going to be homeboys, old ladies. There's going to be all that going on there, right? So you got to conduct yourself. You can't get all pedo, all drunk, act stupid. Believe me, if you have any smut or dirt on your name and you pop up and pop out to one of those fucking unity things, you could quite possibly not make it back to your car, right? There's going to be a lot of shit going on. But I know they're being held throughout Northern California right now. And it's actually a good thing. But like I said, with every positive, there's a negative. And here's the negative aspect of it. Everyone that shows up is going to be recognized for their contribution, for their canalismo, for popping up, right? And it's going to be highly appreciated by those that count, by those of status. They're going to recognize who's all there. But you're also going to be recognized if you don't show up, right? And so all these guys that are boasting and bragging and gangbanging and doing music videos and throwing up red rags and claiming the Norteño business will be questioned if you weren't recognized or seen at one of these unity events. Like, hey, homie, all right, that's all good, but where were your antennas when this shit was popping off or when it was going down? Now, and I don't mean to say this in a bad way, right? I'm trying to be respectful. I understand the whole get down. I understand, why dudes would come together and show each other love. That's real righteousness, and that's a real way to do something, to push the narrative of the Norteño movement. But at the same time, what you also have, right, is I always wondered why the opposition doesn't take this as an opportunity to pull up. You hear a lot of this riff-raff bullshit online, man, this gangbanging, especially when it comes to Northern California between upstaters and Norteños. the back and forth. Hey, homie, fuck you guys. We're all up in your hood. We're all up at your park. We're all up, and you hear both ways. The North are saying it about the South in San Jose, and then the South are saying it about the North. And it trips me out. I look at this internet gangbanging. I'm like, wow, they're always pulling up at 3, 4 in the morning. They're never there when anyone's there. They're not popping out when they see Vatos there. When they see Vatos there, they're cruising by, right? But they always show up fucking 8 in the morning with AKs talking about, I'm in your hood. Well, of course, you're the only one there. Fuck you and the homeless people. Everyone else is fucking crashed out from boning your old lady the night before. Like, I've always wondered why they do that, and people are like, "Ooh, they're really doing it," or they're kicking over memorials for dead homies and all that. And this happens black, white, brown. It's not just one gang that's doing it. There's a lot of people doing it. It's a total disrespect, and it's a cowardice act. To me, if you're really with the business, then you pull up and you face your adversary eye to eye. That's what you do, right? But I always wondered with these unity things, there's a gaggle of Norteños. There's a lot of them. Same thing with like these hood days. You got gangs are all pulling up. And I understand that the respect on the streets is respect people's, get down their program, whatever they got going on, because there's women and children present. And of course, that's the reason why women and children are invited in the first place, to prevent, alternative things from happening. I've always thought that. I used to be like, hey, we're basically gang members from all these different groups. We're fighting for a cause or a struggle. We're trying to say it's not gang related. Okay, I know about the propaganda, that he said, she said, the hearsay. But at the end of the day, let's call it what it is. A whole bunch of gang members getting together, throwing up gang signs, making internet videos, and clowning and laughing and talking about the real ones, right? And ain't nothing wrong with that. A lot of dudes are with the business. A lot of these youngsters that are getting laced up, like I said, educated and introduced to, you're making memories, homie. But not only that, you're making connections throughout Northern California. I respect it. But why don't the opposition pull up? Why don't the opposition be like, hey, they're all right here, right now. Let's go get it. It never happens. And I'm going to tell you why it never happens. It never happens is because when you get a whole bunch of groups, and this goes for the South, the North, or whatever, motherfuckers ain't trying to get into no smoke, man. It's all good if they catch a motherfucker slipping 1-on-1, 2-on-1, 3-on-1, but when it's 1,000 Norteños or 1,000 Southsiders, motherfuckers are like, nah, I'm cool. You know what I mean? We're going ahead and let them get their carne asada on, and we're just going to stay out the way. You ever notice that? Today is a day marked of unity, and it's actually a good reflection on what the Norteños are trying to do and accomplish. Some people will say it's propaganda. It's just a way to keep these youngsters that are not educated into thinking, hey, man, we're one big familia and we got each other's backs and there's no cutthroat shit or disloyalty going on. But at the end of the day, you're never going to understand what the Norteño cause is really about until you live in those fucking Cortezes, until you actually are involved at a different level in and outside of prison. Are you ever going to know what it is? Yes, there is a lot of canalismo. Yes, there is a lot of love and respect. That's one thing I learned about Northern California, and I can say differentiates with Southern California. Whereas in Southern California, when it comes to the Southsider gangs, they're all about their barrio, first and foremost, and no one else. Their barrio primera, meaning, hey, it's all about them. They might get along with a few different hoods, and they might have love for a few different vatos that they did time with, because we all know once a Mexican gets locked up, if you're a Southsider, all that street gang shit goes to the side. I don't care if it's your enemigo, your worst enemy that killed your homeboy. All that shit goes to the side and you all become one. Well, it's the same thing with the Norteño cause, but the difference with North and South is it's the same thing as it is in prison on the streets. So all these different barrios, there is no red on red. You're not supposed to have animosity towards another neighborhood because they're bigger than you or they might have more money than you. All that shit gets put to the side, and it's all about the bigger cause and trying to establish, soldados in an army to further your movement. But what is the movement? What are they trying to further? Are they trying to further gangbanging? Are they trying to further what is really being furthered is this, and it took me a long time to realize it. It's all about what other people think about you. If we show a strong front of unity, then the opposition and other people are going to be like, oh shit, them motherfuckers are a force. They're a force to be reckoned with. It's all about an illusion, not an optical illusion, but a real righteous illusion. If you're cruising by a park and you see 1,000 Norteños, you're like, oh shit, them vatos are thick. They're with the shit. They're really out there like some soldados, right? And that's all it's for. That's all it's for. Yes, there's some networking going on. Yes, it's to show respects back to, like I said, the founding fathers and the people who established the movement. Yes, it's a day just to pop out with your family and have a good time amongst a lot of like-mindedness, homeboys. But at the end of the day, it's a dangerous situation. You know, to have your family and your kids out there popping out around a whole bunch of gang members, you know, you don't know what other guys are thinking from other barrios, if they were laced the right way, educated, or they carry themselves with professionalism like they're supposed to. Now, automatically, when you think Norteños, you think militant, structured, dudes that were raised the right way as far as within the gang, and dudes that know what time it is. But that's not always the case. I remember I had homeboys when we'd pull up to these little events like in Modesto or even Tulare County or wherever we went, we wouldn't take them because they didn't know how to act. They were a bad reflection on the water. They were a bad reflection on the Norteños, period. Now, we couldn't tell him he couldn't be a homie. We couldn't take that away from him because he never did nothing to really fuck up enough. But he was one of those dudes, like, leave his ass at home, bro, because he's going to go there with the gun, even though there's kids around. He's going to be one of those motherfuckers waving the pistol, trying to show off, acting all out of character. And this is not the reflection we wanted on us, because we were going specifically, man, to have our presence be felt. Because like I said, your presence will be felt. And if you're not there, your presence will be, if you're not present, will be felt. Okay? And that's the truth of the matter. The truth is, you're highly encouraged to pop out to these events. Now, what about law enforcement? You know, I never thought back. I didn't care about law enforcement. When you're living that life, it's cat and mouse. It's cops and robbers. Who gives a fuck about the placas and what they think? And you know, but you never think that they're stacking evidence. They're seeing who's popping up. Probation and parole is watching to see, you know, if you're around other known gang members. There's vaulters that are getting violated. I seen one time, and this is the true story. We were in Modesto, right? We were in Modesto at this park, and there was a gang of homeboys popping up. It was kind of like a junta, but even more so than that. It was disguised as a day of unity. It was disguised as a day of just a gang of Norteños coming together. Now, of course, those that were in the loop, in the know, knew exactly why we were there and who we needed to talk to and the reason behind the scenes. But there was a lot of young homies that didn't. They were just happy to be around homies and, oh, man, this feels good, man. They were finally getting recognized, getting introduced to big homies, getting introduced to motherfuckers that were really in the game, right? And it's a wonderful feeling if that's the life you're living. You know, to be in the presence of what you feel is greatness. You know, to be in the presence of your Michael Jordans, your LeBron Jameses, right? And so, you know, it's all like, oh, yeah, because you've been fed this propaganda. You've been fed this canalismo. You've been fed this shit your whole life. So when you're finally around, the dudes are the ones that have implemented all this shit. It's like, oh, I made it, bro. I made it. I got invited to a who's who of who the fuck are these guys, right? And what had happened was there was law enforcement. There was law enforcement that had infused themselves within the junta. Dudes that just popped up talking about, oh, yeah, homie, I'm from whoop-de-whoop, this city. All right, homie. They were undercovers. There was cops all around this park taking pictures. When a gang of homeboys, when the party was over and people were leaving, they had a fucking setup. They had a cop shop set up right around the corner, and they were snatching people. Parole and probation was snatching people up and violating them and sending them to prison because they were hanging around with known street gang members. They had pictures. They had everything that they needed, all the evidence. So in a way, man, it was kind of like a cold setup. It sucked. You know, again, I'm not dissuading anyone from showing up to the unity things. There's a good intentions in mind. You know, they're not going out there to gangbang, to disrespect, or none of that. But at the end of the day, you know, you have to really, if you're really, because think about it, it's all surrounds gangs. It all surrounds a movement, an organization, a group, right? So at the end of the day, the cops, the feds, everybody knows what it's all about. Like, you could disguise it any way you want and say, oh, we're just good homies, man. We're striving. We're showing love. We're showing respect. And all that's good and all that's real. But what's even more realer is the only reason you're having this interaction or you have canalismo is because he's a gang member like you're a gang member. You guys represent the, you know, that big Norte or that big Sur or whatever. And that's what it is. And it just isn't confined to these certain groups. There's a lot of different gangs, Tango Blast, you got Latin Kings that do it. You got Puerto Ricanos that do it, Dominicans, all the different Latino groups, blacks have Hood Day. It's pretty much the Day of Unity for Norteños is compared to the Hood Days. It's just on a bigger scale. Whereas you have Hood Days, like the 40s just had theirs. You know, the 60s have theirs. A-Trays have theirs. Hoovers, all these different Bloods. Oparu, they have theirs. It's pretty much the same thing, but on a larger scale. Because the one thing about the Norteño cause is, yes, first and foremost, you're from your city, you're going to represent it, your barrio, all that. But there's a bigger picture there. And it's all about Norteños coming together in solidarity and you know, with the same mind frame and mind state. So that's what's going on today, 414. You know, there's a lot of different days that you're taught in the Norteño movement or anywhere that are celebrated. You know, September 16th is a celebrated day. You got several other days that are celebrated and you make sacrifice, right? There's days that people work out. I remember in prison, you know, days like Cinco de Mayo was a day that was celebrated by the Norteños, but also at the same time, a lot of shit popped off on that day, man. I remember homeboys used to do removals on that day. Specifically, they wanted to be the one. It was like a Canelo fight. They wanted to be the one to do it that day. So, you know, this Day of Unity is a good thing, but also if you think about the bigger picture, you know, it could be the demise of a lot of people. And again, like I said, everything you do within the gang lifestyle is a reflection of the type of character and the man you are. So when it's encouraged, hey, you pop out. If you don't have nothing to hide or nothing to, you know, wiggle about, then you show up. You show up, you make your presence. There was a lot of these things. I'm telling you, I pull up. What's up, homie? With some of the homies, shake biceps, shake hands, introduce myself to the homies I didn't know, run down the homeboys that I did, and they get the fuck on. I didn't want to be one of the fucking dudes that for any reason was there when drama started, because there's drama. You know, Vatos would be like, hey, that Vato over there, I heard this or I heard that. There's a lot of comadre shit that happens behind the scenes. I'm not saying within the Norteño movement or the Southsiders or anything. I'm just saying in life in general. Motherfuckers can't be around other gang members without being envious or tripping, you know. But today is the Day of Unity from Norteños. I did this video because I was asked, what does it mean? What is it? What's the reasoning behind it? The reasoning is a show of force, but it's also a show of reflection and respect. Okay? And forever forward really means something. And it means that if you could show that show of force and everyone comes together and gets on the same page, well, then that group right there is a force to be reckoned with. Now, again, there are upstaters, Southsiders in Northern California, and it always boggled my mind that they never pulled up, not to any fucking event I've ever seen. But again, I've never seen Norteños pull up to their event either, which is crazy because when there's little things like concerts or little get-togethers, car shows or shit, yeah, there's a lot of North and South fucking interaction and beef. But these days of unity are pretty much left alone. Now, I wanted to say this, whereas the Norteños are having their day, their hood day, it's all good, right? It's all good in their hood. In prison, there's also days of unity. When the raza, North, South, everybody, paisas, come together, you know what I mean, eat, play games, handball tournaments, things like that. So times have changed. And I think respect is the key word here. Respect, you know, you respect everyone and you'll get that same level of respect. Anyways, shout out to all the Norteños doing their thing, man. I have no hatred in my heart. That's one thing about me. I'm not part of that cause anymore, but it was a beautiful struggle while I was struggling in it. I understood the goods and the bads, and I took the good with the bad. Okay? There's no hatred. I'm not still wanting to be a Norteño or anything like that. I was just asked what it means, and that's what it meant. That's my perspective of what it meant. To other people, it might mean something different. You know, I was a hardliner, a firm believer in struggling for social status of equality inside and outside of those walls, right? I believed in, if you're going to lace the little homies up, not only give them a gun, but give them the mentality and the reason why not to use it if you don't have to. Anyways, that was just my set, man. I hope I was able to answer the question. You know what it is. Today's the Day of Unity. If you're Norteño and you don't show up, you'll be sorry, because believe me, that will be duly noted. Vatos are there with the full intention of hoping motherfuckers don't pop up so they can pop up later and get at them. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in. That's the betterment of all people. I know you guys want a Super Norteño. I got a Super Norteño Presents today. Something new, different, innovative, and Ricky's involved. So is Pepe. So am I. So is Thea. So is a pit bull. So are the roaches, the bed bugs. There was even a fucking salamander, a pet salamander that Sheila had. I think that bitch ate it. The gun. I respect you. Thank you. Bang, bang.